This is absolutely insane. This market is going bananas. We have massive pumpage not only on the day, but look at this week. Look at these deep green numbers here all across the altcoin market. Bitcoin doing just fine, doing what we projected it would do, mainly just trade sideways as we went throughout the week and the weekend, and the altcoins got that love, baby. The altcoins got that love to the upside, exactly as predicted. Here on the Boys Crypto channel, if you guys are here and you guys are in trades, I want to say congratulations to each and every single one of you guys for kicking it with me here, hanging out and understanding how we got here, why we are, where we are, and positioning yourselves effectively to be able to take advantage of this juicy market. The first thing I want to look at real quick here is Bitcoin dominance. This is how it starts, baby. This is 3 black crows on the daily, the opposite of 3 white soldiers, one of the most powerful reversal patterns here in the game. We got the topple off of BTC dominance here out of this daily divergence, a daily divergence that finally kicked it off to the downside. Ethereum making a historical move, but look at this beautiful swing up on price action while the RSI fails to make higher highs. That is a telling indicator over the course of the last month that we were going to start topping out, and we've been talking about that here on the channel over and over again, and we said, hey, any day now, since it's not only this daily divergence form, but since the weekly divergence did form here as well, we said any day that Bitcoin dominance could start toppling over, and boom, baby, we were right. Look at this beautiful weekly candle to the downside that I believe is just going to be the first of many. This divergence here on the weekly suggests to us that altcoins are going to continue to run. We failed to make a higher high, yet we made a higher high here on price action. That is bearish divergence to a T. For those of you who don't know what bearish divergence is, it signals a slowdown in momentum and a potential reversal. This bearish divergence suggests that we break this low here before we crack this high. This tells me that altcoin season is just now beginning, and expected here on the channel out of this inverted cup and handle. And I was saying, if we closed above that 786, which we never got to, we closed above the 786, I would be a Bitcoin bull, baby. It's the Bitcoin super cycle, and Bitcoin's gonna go to the moon. But until we closed above this blue line, I had to remain faithful to those altcoins, and boom, baby, we got the reversal. Looks like that's where it's at. It got the front run of the 786 and looks beautiful for a reversal to the downside. Looks immaculate for Bitcoin dominance. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin, with the exception of how much market cap that it shares in percentage of the entire total crypto market cap. And seeing this drop to the downside is very good for Bitcoin. For all my altcoin holders out there, you guys know what this time was. These 3 candles represent the 3 weeks, but the week before, the week during, and the week after when President Donald Trump got elected. That was a mini alt season, I believe. I believe the next one that we're going to have is going to be 3 to 4 to 5 times greater than this move that we had to the downside. This inverted cup and handle, as you guys can see here, inverted cup, baby, inverted cup. And we got the handle here, handle looking very nice for a reversal here. This is a bearish pattern. If we flip this upside down, will we not long this all day long? The cup and handle, I know it's a little sloppy there. The cup and handle down to the 786, getting that reversal to the upside. This is just the same chart flipped. Flipped upside down. Same chart flipped upside down. So the inverted cup and handle looking to play out. We have giant gaps here in the VRVP to the downside, suggesting that Bitcoin dominance can fall all the way from where it's at. We've had a 2% move so far. And this suggests that we have another 56% to the downside to go for Bitcoin dominance. Is that going to happen? It definitely can. That's what the charts are saying. Inverted cup and handle, that's how they break out, and that's their measured move. Are we going to get all the way down there? I don't suspect that we will. I think, one of these high volume nodes down in this region around 40, 42 will catch us, but a 20% drop in Bitcoin dominance is going to be absolutely massive for the altcoin space. That suggests to us that this little pump that you saw here for the altcoins over the course of this week is about 10% of what your altcoin can move over the course of the market. And that looks amazing. According to that inverted cup and handle, and altcoin season does not last long, everybody. It didn't last long last time. I don't project it to last long this time. Let's clear this out of here. This was altcoin season our last time around here in 2021 from the high. How long did this take? From the high to the low, this took just 119 days. For those of you not really good at math, that's less than 4 months. Less than 4 months of price action for Bitcoin to take all the way here, to go all the way from the highs to the lows. And then Bitcoin dominance slowly went into an uptrend over the course of over 3 years to the upside. So altcoin season very fast. Altcoin season fast. Bitcoin dominance trends up very slowly, as proven over time in this market. Let's start where we do. I know we didn't start on Bitcoin dominance, but I had to look at it, man, because we've been saying this over and over again on the channel. I said, hey, the altcoins, baby, get ready for this altcoin pump. And we got that. Look at this on the 1 hour. And I remember the other night when we were talking about this, I was like, get ready. This could be the high. This divergence right here could be the high. The divergence that we called out on this stream and right after this stream. I think it was on the stream, was it not? Yeah. 19, we said, hey, this is the area where Bitcoin dominance can top right here. That divergence right there. And that led to being the top. We did slightly break that high, but ultimately led to a down drop to the downside. Bitcoin dominance looking super weak to the downside. Bear flagging down for a bear flag right here. Bear flag and dropping further to the downside right here. For those of you who can't see that bear flag right there to the downside, and you're looking to come to that target. And for the past few days, for the last 3 days, Bitcoin dominance has been bleeding to the altcoins, a great thing for altcoin holders. And you know what makes it even better? Bitcoin's sitting at $103,500. Let's get off with Bitcoin, baby. Let's dive on into Bitcoin. And I'm going to look at this chart, and I know a lot of people will say, hey, that's crazy, boys, crypto. There's no way. And why am I zoomed in on the 1 hour time frame when we've been looking at the daily, right? We have been looking at the daily over and over again on this channel, but ultimately, I got to tell you guys, we've only spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days above the price where we are at right now. As far as I am concerned, we are looking to test the highs here, the highest daily candle close ever in Bitcoin's history at about $106,000. Have we gotten higher than that? Yeah, absolutely. We pumped up to about 109.9, did we not? 109.852. So those are prices that I'm looking at here on the daily, but ultimately on the daily, to me, we're above every major 200 MA, and I think we're looking at a blue skies breakout kind of territory, similar to back here when we cracked this high. We never looked back. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We got above the high finally after 6 months of consolidation, right? 6 months of consolidation, about 4 or 5 months of consolidation right here. Yeah, that's 5 months of consolidation, baby. 5 months of consolidation, boom to the upside, blue skies breakout for a couple of days. This could happen this week. Notice how this is the Saturday and Sunday right here. The Saturday and Sunday, the little pumpage right here. And then during that week, you got that massive move on Monday open, and you continue to the upside for weeks to come before we dive down into this consolidation pattern. So we did get a massive reversal off of the 618, 786 golden pocket Fibonacci retracement right here. Came down to the 786 and got the bounce off of the last reaction that you had in the rally. So that's what I got for you guys on the daily. What am I concerned about on the daily? Not much besides us remaining above, $96,000, a price that we were just at, or $96,700, a price that we were just at a few days ago, right? The stochastics are violently pointing to the upside, but I'm going to get into what everybody wants to talk about right now. Is there a chance, boys crypto, that we hit the all-time high this weekend? And I'm going to tell you yes. Yes, there is, and this flag is telling us a story. This flag is absolutely beautiful. It's a little too early to say, and it is forming out here as a bull pennant, right? We dived on into this nice, fresh-looking bull pennant here, and it's a little wonky right there at the beginning, and you could bend these lines just a little bit, maybe a little bit of a dip to the downside. That's okay. Looks a little different on the smaller time frames. Looks a little cleaner here on the 2 hour, and I like that. I like that a lot for BTC dominance. So here, or for Bitcoin. This is what I'm looking at. This beautiful 2 hour flag that has a massive legs, right? This isn't just a flag. This is a pennant. This is an upward trending flag. Look on the 2-hour time frame, the stochastics, the momentum oscillator is reset. We are oversold right now in terms of the stochastic RSI. Looking to push higher here, looking to push higher up to, yes, an all-time high. A breakout of this 2-hour flag can lead us all the way up here to about $112,000, and that would be a blue skies breakout, an 8% move for BTC, and you're going to see some massive FOMO come in at that time because everybody will be crapping themselves given just 2-3 weeks ago we were able to get Bitcoin at about $76,000. You will be almost it will feel like you'll be down 50% if you sold out of your Bitcoin during that time. Never wanted to be in that situation. That would be a horrible feeling. And we were averaging in. When this fear and greed, which is come and gone, fear and greed index for BTC, you can pull this up anytime here. We're sitting in the greed now. Anytime that we deviate in this red area where we were at just prior to last month is an amazing time, historically an amazing time to accumulate the best assets in the game. Happy Saturday, Andrew. Special shout out to everybody in the chat. Carol, what's going on? My mom, what's up? Hey, I appreciate you tuning in this evening. MH, April, Michaela B, and Andrew Greason. Hey, I appreciate you being here, brother. I appreciate all of you guys being here and supporting me here on this channel. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that like button for me if you could. It really does help the channel out, and it is all for free, baby, all for free. So I appreciate that like button smash, and let's dive on into the charts. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin on the 2-hour time frame. Looks very, very good. The 4-hour even reset. Look at this beautiful bend on the 4-hour time frame. You cannot get more bullish than when you come up here and price trends sideways as the 4-hour stochastic oscillator resets over the course of days. That is telling me that the bears have nothing in the tank in order to take this major asset down. The best performing asset in history here. BTC looks to make a move to the upside, and I think it is very, very likely. No bearish divergence here forming yet on the charts. You could say, you could argue that this is a little bit of a bearish divergence, but with the RSI curving back up into the overbought region, that's where things can get really frothy in the market and FOMO could start kicking in. And I think this flag has a very, very high probability of breaking out to the upside. So this flag does not have a close. We have a clean upward sloping support and upward sloping resistance. Support, resistance. This can trend for a while. That is very, very true. Are we concerned about that? No, because the longer we trend here, the bigger the breakout, the technical breakout target, right? As we go above this resistance line, the bigger the target goes, right? Right there, it'll be 113.5, and here would be about 12,000. So it's okay with some sideways consolidation with the stochastic RSI reset. I think Bitcoin's looking to make a move, baby. It all lines up for trade deals, trade agreements, and, ceasefires between Russia and Ukraine, things that will bring optimism back into the market. And look at crypto comparatively to the stock market, massively outperforming, and the altcoins getting a lot of the love that they have not received ever since Donald Trump got elected back in November. So very, very interesting. Let's dive on into the altcoins. Drop your altcoins in the chat, everybody. Man, this day has been absolutely crazy. The week's been absolutely crazy. Any chart that we pull up under the sun essentially is going to be like, wow, look at that vertical line on the weekly, because these are massive, massive moves. The big one we're sitting in right now on the trade that we gave out for free on X is Sui, baby. Sui looking to break out of this flag. We did have a liquidity sweep to the downside earlier this morning, and we got back up inside the pattern above the 15-minute 200 MA, and we rocketed out since. Got above, retested, and now we're just kind of sitting above this consolidation zone. I really, really, really want to see this support resistance hold. If it doesn't, that's going to be, it's going to be okay throughout the night. We have the high volume node through us, and then we have this downward sloping resistance line, which is going to be support. A lot of support underneath us here for Sui on the daily. The daily looking absolutely amazing. Legs to the upside look very, very likely. As we gap through this VRVP, we talk about this ball rolling down the hill scenario all the time here on the channel. Look at this ball, right? We got the ball, price action consolidates. We get that push up over the VRVP, and you're likely to come up to where? The next high volume node. And you were very, very, very close here to the next high volume node where these nodes started picking up. Looks very, very good. A bullish engulfing candle looking to fulfill here for Sui on the daily time frame. A very, very, very bullish close. If we could get above that 402, 403 region for Sui today, I think this thing could go massively to the highs. Out of this flag here, this bullish bullhorn that we did have earlier in the week, we took our entry. Our entry's at about 325 right here, and boom, to the upside. We got it in a single day. And oh, to all the Sui holders, shout out to you guys. I think this thing's going to be the massive next Solana mover. I really do. That's just me, and that's speculation, right? That's not what the charts are saying. I'm not saying, hey, you know, all-time highs based on the charts, but it's looking like we could do a leg to come up and test the highs. We break the highs for Sui, and I full-heartedly believe the last time we broke the highs on some major time frames here on the daily, we went on a rocket shot to the upside, and I think that's very, very likely for Sui as long as we could get over that $4.77 region and that $4.18 region, which are the high volume nodes right now that are staring us in the face. This is also in confluence with the golden pocket bearish 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci. Look at these nodes sticking out here in this zone. This is a heavy resistance zone, and no surprise that we're getting a little bit of resistance here at the 618. We crack through this zone, and you're going to see Sui pump, in my opinion, like you've never seen something pump before in your lives. This is something that's low enough market cap that can definitely do a 10x this cycle, in my opinion, from where we are on the very bullish case, right? But I see a $15, $20 Sui coming, and I see it coming fast. This reminds me so much of Solana back in 2021 when it made its all-time high run from $20 to about $240 where it topped out. I think it's very, very likely for this asset, and I think once this thing's gone, there's not going to be a lot of time to catch it. We got a golden cross here on the daily, the 21 coming up and crossing the 200. Normally the 50 crossing the 100 is what dictates a golden cross in traditional markets, but to me, in crypto, due to the volatility and the nature of the market, I call the golden cross being the 21 crossing the 200. That's where you get those explosive moves, baby, and boom, we get the cross, we get the pump, and it looks like we are either A, going to consolidate for a little bit further here, but based off this 15-minute flag, I think there's legs to this thing, and I think we can go further throughout the night on low liquidity. All right, what's going on, MH? Glad you're here, man. I appreciate you starting us off with the coin of the night, Ondo, baby. You know, Ondo's one of my holdings. It's my number 2 altcoin holding, and this thing's just going on a colossal tear. Look at this puppy to the upside. Let me remove my prior work, and let's dive on into this. So, we were talking about Ondo potentially making deals with the SEC. Not even potentially, they had a meeting with the SEC the other day, and this thing looks ready and right to run. We talked about this inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder slanted to the upside. All of us can see that right here. We got the shoulder, head, and right shoulder. We were speculating on this, right? I thought it would take a little bit more time to fill out, but over the past 3 days, Ondo said, I don't care. We're doing this pattern right now, baby. The measured move for this inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, reversal pattern on the slanted inverted head and shoulder looks to be up here at about $1.34, which is your next high volume node. I will put this on your radar that there are some, I don't want to say roadblocks, but there are a little barricade here in the ways. The daily 200 SMA, that could be a little problematic, right? There will be a little bit of resistance there. You get above the daily 200 SMA, baby, and everybody on this channel knows how I feel about the daily 200 SMA. That go, no-go line you get below, you start closing candles below, it saves you, right? You start closing candles above, and you can look for a bullish push. You start closing candles above for Ondo, which I think is an incredibly undervalued asset right now. You could have gotten Ondo under $1 for the past, you know, month, and I'll bet people, or month and a half. And people right now at $1.07 are gnawing at their teeth, wishing, oh man, I wish I would have bought more Ondo. We had a month and a half, everybody. We had a month and a half. Us here on this channel, on this community, we were getting in it, baby. We were getting in on those altcoins. So here we are, shoulder, head, right shoulder. I would look for if you're looking for leverage here, either a back test and a push to the upside. And it's kind of frustrating. I got stopped out on Ondo, right, on a leverage trade here, coming to the downside. So I was like, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it is nice to see this on my spot portfolio, absolutely booming. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom to the upside here. Looking to come to 134 in confluence perfectly with that high volume node sitting at about 134. That daily 200 SMA looked like the only thing that stands in your way. Let me pull a fib right here to see if we're above the 786. So we're in the golden pocket right now. So that 786 and the daily 200 SMA likely to be an area where you get a little bit of struggle. I'm not saying you're going to dump, but what I would say is I would look for a retest of that neckline, man. Get a little rejection right here, neckline push, and then go up further from there, as you have confirmed a higher high, or will confirm a higher high off of this close that happens in about an hour and 38 minutes. I think this thing could do some massive damage. The market cap is very low, and I think this thing could do a 10x this cycle as well. It has a lot of fundamentals behind it, has a great team, and in the real world asset space, how many of you guys think it's right that we still trade the stock market from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.? I think that's absolute crap. It should be like crypto, baby. It should be crypto. It should be like crypto 24/7, and Ondo is trying to do that with the U.S. security Securities and Exchange Commission and get stocks tokenized on chain, that would be amazing. Not only for that, but for tracking insider traders in the government, that would be immaculate. And it would fulfill, you know, that Elon Musk, like, get the corrupt people out of the government, Doge, and all that kind of stuff, that narrative as well. Very, very interesting. Just kind of speculation there, but the charts say, hey, Ondo's looking to reverse. Inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking to boom to the upside. 134 is my next target for Ondo. Thanks for keeping that on the radar, baby. MH, I appreciate you, brother, being here every day and your support. Thank you, man. That's Ondo for you. That is Ondo on the daily time frame. And honestly, look at this daily, or look at this on the 15-minute time frame. So this is looking very, very similar to what I believe, you know, Sui's consolidating in, maybe foreshadowing a little bit here. And I know I talk about Sui a lot, man. It's just one of my favorite projects for this cycle. But yeah, looking very, very good. Flag, boom to the upside, perfect retest. And now you're going with the 21 supporting you on price action. Couldn't ask for a better setup than that, man. You cannot ask for a better setup than that. And it's not like you're monumentally, like, screaming to the upside in a vertical line that looks like it's going to be a blow off top. This is a very healthy uptrend being supported by the 15-minute 21. I'd watch the 15-minute as you go throughout the night, but you are making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows until you're not. Until you go into some other form of consolidation again, but this thing has legs, and I think it could do some massive damage to the upside, and it would catch everybody with their pants down, would it not? Who was calling for altcoin season, baby? Everybody was saying, man, Bitcoin dominance looks to rocket to the moon. I'm not rubbing it in, man. I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted that people were staring at this inverted cup and handle in the face, and nobody was saying anything about it. Nobody was talking about this. It drove me nuts. I was posting it everywhere. I said it. I was like, I said this a couple weeks ago. I was like, I'm gonna go over this chart every single day to keep it on everyone's radar because it's so important. It's so important. All right, let's go on. Nostalgic. What's going on, man? I appreciate you being here. What's up, brother? Pepe ran up since we last spoke about it, surpassing my expectations. I'll be honest with you, brother. It's surpassing everyone's expectations, not just Pepe. Why is Pepe mooning as hard as it is? Well, it's the #1 coin on the Ethereum chain. And Ethereum, look at this. We had this in a inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder. A lot of these altcoins were in this pattern. We had this drawn prior, shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom to the upside, hit the target that we were expecting here, bouncing off that 4-hour 200 SMA. Looked really, really good with that divergence that did form there on the 4-hour time frame. That was the perfect entry. And Pepe, you know, dropping the mic here as it pumped 77% in just a couple of days. How many days was this? 4.5 days, not even. So this thing can absolutely moon and rocket shot when it wants to. Look at this. This move did not take long. This move did not take long here back in November. Yeah, let me clear some of this up. And we're going over some of the key levels. These are some of the areas where a lot of shorts are layered in. You know, and key Fibonacci retraces, right? You got to keep that in mind. There are going to be Fib retraces where people try to short Pepe to the downside. It's just a reality, right? And I'm not saying that that's going to cause like, oh, that's definitely going to be a lower high scenario, but that's where short traders will come in and say, oh, this is likely going to be the lower high area for Pepe between 19 and 23. That's going to be the zone to watch out for. Currently sitting at 13. I think this thing has massive legs to go to the upside, man. This is a meme that's going to stick around. It's not going anywhere. The #1 meme coin getting above that daily 200 SMA. I love that, baby. I love that. In 3 days, boom, boom, boom to the upside. Pepe creeping above that daily 200 SMA. Look what happened the last time. Pepe had 3 massive candles to the upside and got above that daily 200 SMA. That's the thing about the daily 200. Right? You're going to get these massive pumps off the downside, and everybody and their mom is going to be calling, oh, we'll wait for a pullback. We'll wait for a pullback. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do with your money. I'll tell you what I'm doing with mine, but I'm not going to tell you guys what to do with your money. And, you know, you don't want to be in a position right now, right, for Pepe, if you wanted to get into Pepe, where in 3 days, you took out the opportunity of 3 months. 3 months. And if you purchased Pepe any day in the past 3 months, you are now screaming in profit. And now's when people will be like, should I buy Pepe? Should I buy Pepe? Well, I don't ever want to be in that situation. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in that situation. No, you got an inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder breakout. You could have got in on the breakout right there. Maybe on the smaller time frames, you got a little bit of a retrace, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Let's see here. Did you get a little bit of a retrace? You didn't even get a retrace of that neckline. Look how crazy strong Pepe is. Wow, to the upside for Pepe. You just blasted through that without a care in the world. Pepe to the upside looks very, very promising. Now, If you're looking for a long trade, would I open up? Would I bet the farm on this one right now? Probably not. Probably not. For a couple reasons. A, you're forming a little bit of bearish divergence here. You know, that did get I didn't get defied yet. So this bearish divergence is still in play right here on the 2-hour time frame, right? So you have this swing down in price action, or you have this you have this swing across in price action, as you can see right there, while you have a massive, massive swing up in price. This bearish divergence suggests that you crack this low, right? You crack this low before you crack this high. Does that have to happen? No, it does not have to happen, but it gives you an ideal entry zone for Pepe if you're outside of leverage right now and you're looking for a juicy long. So where would that bring you to? It'd bring you about the 0.5 Fibonacci, baby. Or even down here, it would bring you down to, yeah, around the 0.5 Fibonacci down to 618. So if I'd be looking for a long on Pepe, right, it'd be too late for me, unless I was looking for a high leverage scalp trade on the smaller time frames, to get into a major swing position, right? To get into a major swing position to have over the course of this cycle. Pepe can continue to run, and it can continue to scream to the upside. You broke above the daily 200 SMA, and as long as you close above here in the next hour and 30 minutes, to me, that's go time, man. That daily 200 SMA is going to serve as support for you. And, you know, just based off daily candles, so you can wick below, but that daily 200 SMA is going to serve as massive support. Let's zoom on out here and get this on the daily time frame and observe this range here. Look at that. You're above. You got caught on the point of control here, and you started the ball rolling down the hill scenario. And if you notice about Pepe, you know what's crazy about Pepe? Where do you guys see the next hill is? You don't. You don't. Most of Pepe has been traded down here. So as this rolls off the hill, you got massive steam and momentum to the upside. The stochastic still pointing up very violently. The weekly in agreement with that as well. Let's look at the 3-day. The 3-day, baby. Yeah, the weekly hanging out in overbought territory on the stochastics. You're above every major 200 SMA. I think Pepe's going to fly. And I don't think it's going to look back until you get some major sell-off. And you can even see here, it's very similar to Bitcoin. Does this not look like exactly what you're looking at for BTC? You have a nice. Now, you could get a little bit of a pullback off of that div. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just my opinion on the market. But this looks good. This looks like a strong, high, and tight pennant here. To me, high, tight pennant. Looking to break here, and this would be a more risky trade to get into, right? Because stop hunts are going to happen when you have moves like this on Pepe, especially 77%. That is insane. That represents a 4-to-1 risk-reward ratio to the upside out of this pennant, and if anything could do it, it is Pepe. Look at these stochastics resetting, and you are oversold right now for Pepe, according to the stochastic RSI. The RSI is still in the overbought region. It'll stay in the overbought region as long as we're bullish on Pepe. It will. You're going to hang up in this upper half of the band. You're very unlikely to come down below the 50 band unless you're in like a little bit of a bear stunt, right? You come back down below the 50 and we had that dip, right? You get back above the 50 and you're likely to stay above the 50 until you don't. And until then, you can expect more rippage to the upside for Pepe. This reminds me a lot of XCN when it went on its monumental run to the upside, baby. And it's going to flag out and pump until it doesn't anymore. Flag out and pump until it doesn't. Very awesome to see for Pepe. Shout out to you as a Pepe holder, baby. Shout out to the Ethereum holders. Man, Ethereum. Hey, let's go on into the chat. Hey, Michaela B, I appreciate that. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Yeah, type of the day. All right. Doge to make a move around 30 cents. I'll take a look at Doge. Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's take a quick peek at Ethereum. We have to real quickly. I know a lot of us aren't necessarily Ethereum holders. I'm not a big Ethereum. I'm not an Ethereum holder, period. Right? I'm not. I have my eggs. My basket is filled with different eggs, if you will. My basket is filled with different eggs. That is not to shine any lack of bullishness for Ethereum here. And you know, I wasn't saying that down here. I wasn't saying this. I was not expecting, and I don't think the entire world was expecting a 41% pump out of Ethereum. Vitalik Buterin coming out and saying what the Ethereum community needed him to say. He said, we're gonna start updating the system and making it better, which he hasn't. I've just seen videos of him on X going on dates and doing absolutely nothing for the Ethereum community, just hanging out, not even honestly, it didn't even look like he was showing up to work. Weird, right? Stochastics on the 3-hour oversold again on Ethereum. Look at that. You come up here, a little consolidation, oversold. Let's see what the 4-hour looks like. Still coming down, looking to bounce off that 50 line. Looks to curve again. Ethereum may go on a nonstop rampage. Don't be surprised to see Ethereum above $2,700 to $3,000 over the course of this weekend. The next high volume nodes trending here at about $2,700. I think that area is very, very likely. 2650. 2750 likely to be tested by tomorrow, and the highest volume node sitting up here at about $3,300. This thing can make some absolute moves, right? And for those of you, I know there's a lot of haters on Ethereum. From the bottom, you're up about 82%. Another 82% move would take you past the highs, right, from where you currently stand. So Ethereum deserves a lot of respect out of this move. I got to be honest. Was this a fib retrace? I don't think it was. Interesting. You got caught on the 786. You dipped below it, and then you got, the 786 held and boom to the upside. Very interesting for Ethereum. With that being said, I don't think Ethereum is the strongest project in the space, in my opinion. I don't think this, I see a lot of $10,000 price target. Could it get there? Sure. But I think if Ethereum gets there, there's going to be a lot. I think there's other projects that do it better, faster, and cheaper than Ethereum. And I don't think it's going to be something that, it's not going to be something that 20, 30Xs. It's not. It's not going to be like prior cycles. I do not think that is possible. I don't think that's possible for anything in the top 10 because there's not enough money in the space as it currently stands. And I think a lot of the money that is coming in is going to be going into BTC, baby. And dominance is going to continue to roll over. But I think the majority of the money, right, the billions that I think are going to be coming into the crypto space, a lot of that's still going to be going into the Bitcoin. And the majority of that is going to be going into Bitcoin just because of what it stands for. Look at this. Man, the preservation of wealth throughout the world, the preservation of wealth, something that we cannot get right now because the M2 global money supply countries, not just the United States, right, printing money, but everyone's printing money to no end. The M2 global money supply screaming to the upside, and that is likely where Bitcoin is to follow as it has all the way through its entire history. So I can't get that chart here on TradingView, but I'll show you guys what I mean. All right, and I'm not forgetting about Dogecoin. I got you. I got you guys. Or you can't get it on TradingView. This is where I was looking at this the other day. All right, M2 Global Money Supply. For those of you guys who don't know what this is the total amount of money that is going to be in the markets, right, in the future here based off of current legislation. And it's like, oh, Boys Crypto, that's July of 25. I totally agree, right? And Bitcoin price back here, March, and it hasn't really updated yet. But bear with me here. So the price of Bitcoin has always followed the M2 global money supply pretty much to a T, right? We got the bottom in for BTC, and now we're sitting up about here at about, $100,000. This looks to follow and potentially lead, overshoot the global money supply. I think that is very, very likely here in the future, and I think it's going to continue. We have no shot at stopping printing money. It's the only way that governments continue to fund their projects, right? It's the only way that governments continue to fund their projects and to keep centralized currency alive. It really is. That's what's so cool about Bitcoin. It's non-centralized, baby. Nobody controls it, and that's why the governments are so scared of it. And now they realize they can't control it, and now you got the strategic reserve, and the government wants to own some of it. That's how good this asset is, baby. That's how good this asset is. Ethereum, I think this thing is looking for a reversal. Coming up to the daily 200 SMA. Not only thinking of a reversal, right? If you took a trade on Ethereum down here, congratulations. You have some of the biggest testicles in the world, man. You do. You fell beneath some of the key. You fell beneath the weekly 200 SMA. You fell beneath the daily 200 SMA. You were playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside until you were not. And this was a scary time for Ethereum. Down at $1,400 it got to. That's crazy to think that back here just a month ago, you could have gotten Ethereum at $1,400. I was not a buyer at those prices. I was saying that Ethereum could potentially go lower. It didn't have to happen, but man, it goes to show that, and we talk about this for all the altcoins, a massive sell-off, right? Massive sell-off, massive short interest. Whenever you get that short interest, you get a massive short squeeze, likely the result of what you're seeing right now in the charts. I do see more upside to Ethereum. However, I do have different eggs in my basket, baby, but Ethereum is good for all altcoins. If you're an altcoin holder, you want to see Ethereum doing good because historically, Ethereum has led the biggest altcoin seasons throughout history, and that's very, very important, a key thing to take away. So Nasty Kid, what's going on? Thanks for joining us, brother. Let's dive on into Doge for Nostalgic. Thanks for being here, man. Dogecoin, look, and you guys know how I feel about the meme coins. I'm not a meme coin holder. I don't, right? Not that I don't believe in them. I think there's select few memes that are going to stay around for this cycle. I think a lot of the memes have gotten a lot of that pump and dump fear in and out of them, and I don't think the public's going to start jumping on that train again. If they do, I argue that there'll be a lot less of the public that's willing to dive on in, right? I really do. And, you could argue that from back here, right? What was this? This was a great example back here in 2021, when the market was manipulated to make Dogecoin pump, right? And that was, Elon Musk doing that, but he did it and proved the point, right? What happened here? A legislation was introduced to ensure that these tokens are treated like the stock market, right? These tokens are treated like the stock market, where you can't, if you own the token, say this thing's going to $1 million, like you can't, Jeff Bezos doesn't say Amazon's going to $8,000 a share. He doesn't do that. He can't do that. That's illegal, right? He can't do that. That is market manipulation. And that dives me into, I'm not going to get into what Trump's been doing lately. Buy stocks now. It's going to be like rocket fuel. It's going to be, say, the president. That's kind of crazy. But hey, teach their own, right? Teach their own. I'm not a law guy. I'm not a law guy. But that to me, if I don't know what market manipulation is, if that's not it. But we're all benefiting from it. So who cares, right? So here we are. All right. Dogecoin coming up, very, very similar chart to Ethereum. We did catch this daily divergence here, speculating on the reversal. We got a reaction there, but ultimately we came to drop lower as US-China trade tensions to continue to put pressure on the market. You did reset the divergence there as well. As you guys can see right here, beautiful daily divergence here for Dogecoin. Swing down on price while you have that swing up on the RSI. These don't have to be reversals, but are very, very good indicators when you are trying to call them out. That led you to the reversal to the upside for Dogecoin. Divergence is so powerful, everybody. So powerful. I highly recommend you dive on into, I did a tutorial a while back, bullish versus bearish div, how to find it, how to spot it, and how to use it in the charts. I highly recommend going and checking out that video if you guys do not know what I am talking about. But hey, here we go. Dogecoin changing market structure. Lower high, lower low. Lower high, lower low. You could argue that this was a, lower high and it pushed up into a higher high. So I would, from a leverage perspective, if you're in Dogecoin right now, you're feeling really good. You're feeling amazing. However, I would never, ever advise, and again, this isn't financial advice, get aping into a project that has been up 37%. I would, in the event that it was in some kind of consolidation pattern, a flag, a cup and handle, something like that. You get some kind of consolidation. But if the chart was just to do this for Dogecoin, it makes absolutely zero sense. But that's the crazy thing with the meme coins. They do that. Look at this for Doge back here in November. They will do that. They will squeeze. That's why I call it the crypto casino. If you think crypto's high risk, which it is, if you think crypto's high risk, the meme coins are crypto high risk on steroids, right? It's absolutely wild. It's like playing roulette. It's like playing roulette and betting on a single number, because not all these meme coins are going to pump massively. I think Pepe, Dogecoin, Floki, the meme coins that are sitting in the top 100 are going to perform massively well, especially in a short squeeze environment when they have a lot of short interest, especially from back here, the massive event that we had back here on February 3rd, the biggest crypto liquidation event in history. I think we're definitely, okay, I'm not going to say definitely. I think there's a 99.9999% chance that you get up to that 28%, that 0.28%, that 28 cent region, baby, that 28 cent region. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen very fast for Dogecoin. That'll crack you above the daily 200 SMA, and you see what happens when Dogecoin gets above the daily 200 SMA. You got a little bit of a retest there, and then you went on a 251% moonshot, and that's on spot. If you're on leverage, you 25x your money on a 10x. That's insane. If you're on 100x, you 250x your money. That would be insane to catch a 100x on something like that. Again, I don't advise using high leverage like that. Anything over 10x, man, it gets dangerous. So right now, I'm in just low leverage swing position on Sui. That's what I got rolling on 3x over there on Blowfin. But that's the only leverage position I'm in. But I'm sitting spot in these altcoins, and Spot is paying so well right now. Shout out to everybody that's here. All right, diving on in. Hey, Sid Nasty Kid, I saw your coin, brother. I saw Quant, baby. Yeah, I think so. End of the story. I think Doge will. I think Doge has a very, very high likelihood of coming up that 30 cents. You trigger these stop losses here that occurred from this liquidation event right here, which have not been hit. You got in on that wick, right? That dip and pumpage. You never got liquidated. You can see that right here. This is where those stop losses are. This right here on the charts is where those stop losses are. If those stop losses get hit, you could get a cascading liquidation to the upside, right? Because as people try to short or are short on Dogecoin, those shorts that get stopped / liquidated execute buy orders by the exchange for those products, right? And that's for the entire volume of what they're using the short, which could be insane. Millions and millions of billions in short interest, I would imagine, are sitting up at these levels. And I think a squeeze is very, very likely for Dogecoin. Shout out to you, man. 3 white soldiers right there to the upside for Dogecoin. Looks very, very likely, in my opinion. Sin Nasty Kid, thanks for being here, man. One of the most awesome supporters that I have. I appreciate you, brother. Toning on in here every single night. You're an absolute legend. Calling out Quant, baby. I did see Quant, and the first thing I thought was like, I remember Sin Nasty Kid talking about Quant. And boom, to the upside we go. We did mention this the other day. I did not think this was one of the stronger coins in the game, but you know, here's what I think about the altcoins right now. I think everything's going to pump until it starts to slow down, right? I think on the first slowdown of the altcoin market, we're really going to see where those gems shine, where the consolidation starts to happen. The ones that form upward trending bull flags are going to look a little better, you know, sideways, okay. The downward trending ones, and if they break beneath that, that may be cup and handle scenario. So I think there's going to be a big disparity in the altcoins as the market tries to figure out the true fair value of these assets. I like Quant. I like the project. It is scarce. It is limited in supply. It is not too far down here on Coin Market Cap. I don't know why my thing always pulls me up on Jupiter right there. Not too far down here on Coin Market Cap. It is sitting at, it is sitting here at 71, right? Top 100 coin, nothing to mess around with, right? It does have most of its supply out. Circulating supply is almost meeting match supply, about 90%. Is that not 80% is out? And Quant seeks massively. Quant seeks to able to bridge a bunch of different cryptos together, all the cryptos together, so that they can interoperate and communicate between one another, essentially the cell phone for crypto. And that would be really, really massive here in the space as projects start to team up and work with one another in order to push product development. I think this thing can do some massive damage. Now, honestly, you got a massive move. You're above the daily 200 SMA, and that's a great sign. That is a great sign. Do I think we see the highs? Well, you know, it's tough on Quant, and here's why. I'll show you why. Let's look at it on, is this that back? Where's, because Quant's an older coin. Quant came out, Gemini will have it, right? Yeah, so Quant came out, when was the inception of this? Does it say? 2021, right? All-time high, that was 4 years ago. All-time high at $428. I don't even think that's on the chart here, is it? No, it's not. Right, so Quant used to trade up here, right? Way up here. And I know it's not on the TradingView charts, but it wasn't released on exchanges yet, and that's okay. That happens. It happened in 2021, right? A lot of exchanges started listing, and that's when the charts start updating on TradingView. But it was once trading up at this $480 range. Over the course of years, you still, even through bull markets, you made a lower high. You made a first higher high right there, but then you made an equal low. So if you crack this high, there is a relatively good chance that Quant does push higher. That's about 100% or 75% move from where you currently stand. But you still have prior highs of prior cycles that you got to get through right here. Not the prior high of the previous cycle, but like prior highs of prior cycles, right? And that's going to be layered up through the multi-hundreds of dollars. So I think Quant has a little more resistance than some of the newer projects in the game. Not saying that it's going to do bad. I don't think it's going to do bad. It's above the daily 200 SMA and it meets all my wickets, brother. I think this thing can absolutely moon. But for those, for the people that don't think, and look at this inverted cup and handle that we had, it went a little deeper than expected right there. And, you know, it retraced almost 1-to-1, which is very, very rare in the markets, even in crypto markets. But boom, to the upside, I'm tracking about $180 coming for Quant. And that's where I think there's going to be a little bit of turbulence, right? There's going to be a little bit of turbulence. Now, if Quant can pack through there, this could be some of the best buying opportunities for Quant. I'm looking at that daily 200 SMA and it looks good. On the smaller time frames, if you want to trade this going into the weekend, again, something I do not advise, right? Diving on into high leverage trades throughout the weekend. But look at this puppy, baby. Look at this thing ripping to the upside. Quant looking like one of the stronger coins in the game. You would have to look for flags on the smaller time frames, right? You'd have to look for a flag. Ugly looking flag right there, but you got a little bit of an inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder. That kind of hinted to you to the upside. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Got the liquidity sweep and pump to the upside. Not really any clear flags that are in here. These even look kind of shoulder, head, right shoulder. I'd have to look at it on the bigger time frames here on the 4 hour. Yeah, so you got that flag here, got that pump, liquidity sweep, swept the lows, and then you went further to the upside. And not showing any really clear flags here on Quant. I'm not going to lie. It's just on a massive, massive uptrend. Stokes are reset, ready to go, pointing up violently in the upward direction. How's the daily looking? Also pushing into the upward direction for the stochastic RSI and the RSI sitting at overbought value. Do not be afraid, everybody. People are going to get scared up here, right? People are going to get scared when you're sitting up in these overbought levels. But oftentimes, when you get, like right here, you are overbought for Quant, right? Right here, right? On this chart. I mean, on the bull market, right? So when you get up into this overbought range, don't think that it's likely to come down, right? Because you could get pinned up here for a while, and that's where the biggest push on Quant happened from about $97 to $166 back here in November. And then you started to topple, right? So this shaded green region should not fear you. Do not fear. If you get a good amount of consolidation, then you can move further to the upside. Looking over the daily 200 SMA, it looks very, very good. 21 curving up in the price action. Exactly what I like to see, brother. It looks like a very, very healthy uptrend. Higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low. Until you don't, baby. Until you don't. You are coming up to the first area of resistance that you have here. Why do I not have a VRVP that's up on the chart right now? I do want to see that. Where's the VRVP? Let me get my settings set up here. VRVP, whenever you're adding it, always change this to 244. It looks a lot cleaner. Gives you a lot more data. All right, so here we are for Quant. Updated VRVP, zooming out here on the daily. You are coming up. Look at that beautiful gap here. And you're coming up. Okay, it wasn't updated. It wasn't updated. But you're coming up at a high volume node right now, which sits right above you at about $102, right? And you perfectly rejected off there so far. Not saying that that's going to happen. And this is going to change as I change the chart, right? Because it's a visible range volume profile. I want to take it from the entire range so that you guys could see it here, and it will update. And this is the price where the most amount of Quant has changed hands over the course of its life. A very, very important area. And there's a lot of coins that are sitting right there at the high volume node, at the point of control, that is called. The point of control. You want to see a close above here to show that the bulls have control. Another coin that I'm tracking that is right there on their high volume node, and it's a make or break point, is XRP right now, trading at about 241, 242 the last time I saw it. Where's XRP at? XRP doing all right? Is it above the high volume node? Sitting at about 242. And you're just above the high volume node with a daily candle closing in about an hour. That looks very, very good. So yes, massive, massive, massive day in crypto. Quant looks great to move to the upside. It's limited in supply. It checks a lot of the wicks that I have, man. Do not personally own it right now, but I hope the best for you, brother, and I think it could do very, very well this bull run. All right, let's dive on in. I know it's Saturday, everybody. That's why I'm in the casual t-shirt. What's going on? Just got done with the workout. Went up a cup size. You guys know what I'm saying? All right, yeah, we're doing the bench press. We went from B's to double D's. I don't know if you guys can see if I can fit them here on the camera, but we are looking good, baby. We are looking good. MHVRA looking very disappointing. Yeah, actually I haven't looked at it since we looked at it the other day. Quant is MH coin. Oh, I'm just going for the ride. MH, shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Yeah, mix you guys up. Ooh, didn't mean to do that, but yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, that looks very, very good. Jasmine, another great call by MH. Yeah, he was talking about Jasmine the other day. Let's look at it. And you know, honestly, and of course, it was a great call. Of course, it was a great call. What I'm saying here, and this was the hidden bullish divergence that we had pointed out, was it not? Where are we at here on the higher time frame? Boop, boop, boop. Was it on the 1 hour? I don't remember where. Yeah, we did point this out right here. So this was hidden bullish divergence right here, suggesting that we crank this high, we crack this high before we crack this low. Hidden bullish divergence looks further for continuation to the upside, and you got just that. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Made a little lower high, but that turned into a higher high, and I'd be looking for a higher low, probably down here at about 18,759 if I'm looking for a leverage trade. But on a lot of these alts, man, I would not want to be in a position, right? I would not want to be in a position. Shout out to all you guys here. I would not want to be in a position where I wasn't in the altcoins right now. Can you imagine that feeling? Like, am I going to miss alt season? Like, am I going to miss alt season? Because I just missed this 50% buy. Do I get it now? Because I know you guys are going to have family and friends, right? That are going to be like, you know, we're going to be sitting at the all-time high. For those of you who hold an XRP, it's going to be like $5 to $7, and people are going to be like, should I buy XRP right now? Should I buy Bitcoin when it's at 200? Hey, Bitcoin's at $200,000. Is it a good time to buy, boys, crypto? And I'm going to say no. No, brother, no. You do not want to buy the highs and sell the lows, which a lot of people end up doing. A lot of people end up doing in this space. what I did before when I was, first joining the Navy. That's what I did back in, 2017, 2018. It was awful. It was awful. Hated that. And I learned a lot from that. And that's why I'm way better off in the market right now. And how I've turned, I've turned those failures into the success, which is the Boys Crypto channel today, baby. And I understand how I understand how the charts work, and it's how I make my living now. But I would never have understood this stuff if I wasn't determined to learn from my failures that I had back in 2018, baby. Back in 2017, 2018, when I first started getting into the market. It first started getting into the market. Crazy times, crazy times. All right, here we go, baby. Here we go. Yeah, you want your bags already? Yeah, MH, I agree with you, man. That is very, very true. So Jasmine looks good to the upside. Hidden bullish divergence looks to kick up. You do have a little bit of a pennant here. It's a little sloppy. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Whoop. Little bit of a pennant forming here. That is true. You got a very strong wick to the upside. That is okay. That is a-okay, baby. I'm just going based off of candle body closures right here, and you're pressing on the resistance, right, of this potential pennant. It may take a couple days to form out, and if the altcoins fail to pump tonight, you can see a pretty steep rejection down to some of the support lines that we've been drawing throughout the course of the stream. But yeah, it looks like it could go up to 2350. These altcoins have legs, and I'm telling you guys, when altcoin season starts, when this move started, like this move right here, I shout out to everybody here, man. This almost makes me want to cry. I'm not going to. But altcoins have taken back the entire last month of price action for BTC on Bitcoin dominance in 3 days. That's 3 black crows. These are massive, massive bearish patterns, right? Which is so good for the altcoins right now. And it reminds me of this right here. It reminds me of this move right here. It reminds me of this move right here, and that led into one of the best altcoin seasons that you've seen. You'll see red days. You'll see very few green days. I think a move like this is coming very, very soon. This is a great example too. Don't be afraid, right? This would be from a shorting perspective. Don't be afraid when you're down in the red. We stayed in the red for Bitcoin dominance for 2 months on the daily time frame. And you never left. You were forming bull div, and you continually capitulated to the downside. You get pinned up here on the stochastics, or pinned down here in this case on the stochastics, you can continue to roll over. A very, very similar move I see coming here for Bitcoin dominance in the coming weeks. And, potentially even weeks, like the next 100 days, everybody, that could change your life. It could change your life. And I'm going to tell you guys that flat out here on the channel. And you can take a dart and throw it at this board, and you're a winner right now. Are you not? You're a winner right now, honestly, unless you're in DEXE or, Leo token. But you're a winner, right? And there's going to be some things that win more than others. Don't pay attention to like if Pepe's up 64%, don't think, "Oh my gosh, I'm missing out. I'm going to switch my Gala or my Ondo into Pepe," right? When those big pumps come, there's a lot of, I encourage you guys to have a strategy, have a plan to exit out. What are you going to do? Where are you going to sell, right? I know a lot of people that are planning on just holding, I'm not planning on holding my altcoins forever. I'm planning on holding my Bitcoin for a very, very long time, taking out just enough to pay myself in the event that I needed something in the event of a disaster. I am not selling my Bitcoin. I think it's a $10 million asset. I think it is. And, Kathy Wood from Ark Invest says, yeah, we have a base case of $750,000 by 2030. That's going to feel very, very good for anyone who even holds a fraction of a Bitcoin, right? So that's very, very, very important. 0.01 Bitcoin will be worth $7,500 if it reaches her price target. That'd be absolutely insane. Something that you could accumulate for just about $1,000 right now. So a lot of those, and I think a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon right now and understanding what Bitcoin is. And if it starts cracking the highs, it's going to be in mainstream media, and there's going to be a lot of jet fuel, if you will, that propels that rocket to the upside. All right, let's dive on into VRA. So VRA was something that was very, very interesting. Had an exchange issue earlier in the week, causing So the exchange issue, so this was a problem with liquidity, right? This was a liquidity issue. And we talked about it there. We went over it on Twitter, right? We were going over this project, looked totally fine. And exchange ended up delisting it and causing cascading liquidations to the downside, right? To the downside of an altcoin that was, I don't even think that, was this in the top 100, man? I don't remember. I don't think it was, year. I don't think it ever got there. Yeah. So you were ranked about 800, right? The market cap is really small. So when it's offered on leverage trading platforms, it offers a lot of liquidity into veracity. And when you have that lack of liquidity, like on weekends, right? When either institutions or big buyers choose to stay out of the market because their market orders or their limit orders start triggering and get the price to pump a little further away from where they'd like to enter. If you start cascading stops, this is what could happen. Mantra DAO says the same exact. Look at this. This happened. This 2 hours, right? I don't even say it's 2 hours. Look at this on the 1 minute time frame. This was, in my opinion, VRA. I don't know, man. I'll never be in VRA. I'll never be in Mantra DAO. Not after a 77% correction to the downside in an hour. Can you imagine that happening to any of your assets? Can you imagine that happening to your dollar? Can you imagine that happening to your house value? That's how a lot of people felt having a lot of eggs in the VRA basket. And that sucks. So like it really does, and it happens in the crypto community. And the team owes everybody, and not only an explanation, which they did, but the market isn't believing them. The market is not believing the statement, or else you would have recovered a little more from here. And this is what Mantra DAO looked like. Let's go over Mantra DAO, the biggest rug pull of the year. To me, I highly recommend ignoring. Yeah, of course it got a pump. Of course, you got to pump like everything else in the crypto space over the course of the weekend, right? But Mantra DAO, we have to keep in mind we're trading at 46 cents. I'm going to zoom out here and look at the magnitude of this. This was just a few weeks ago, back here on April 13th. Mantra DAO, the CEO came on and explained this. This was a 3-hour rug pull, in my opinion. By the time, I don't care what the team says. I want to see the team's wallets. Let me see them still holding their Mantra DAO. You can say whatever you want on TV, brother. Let me see your wallet, and let me see if you own the same amount of Mantra DAO as you did before. Trading at 44 cents earlier in the year, one of the hottest performing assets of the year, making partnerships around the globe, which they took advantage of and got massively. All those partnerships and everything, the optimism in the real world asset space came to the depths. This is why I highly recommend. I have a few eggs in my basket, but I don't have one egg in my basket. The people who have been in Mantra DAO, and there were some people I know on X that had everything in this coin, and they lost everything. It's a reality in the crypto market, and it can happen. Look at that 4-hour candle, that massive pump. Look at that little fart on the chart. Look at that thing. Nothing. I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole, and I will never invest in Mantra DAO. Not after that. I don't believe the team. I don't believe what the CEO said, and I think this project is a dying project that will never return. VRA, I'm not going to go as far as to say that. I feel like the exchange had a liquidity issue, but with that being said, it's a lower market cap and is even to the umpteenth magnitude more sensitive than Mantra DAO. All right, let's dive on in. Raur, nice to see you, brother. I haven't seen you in a minute. I appreciate you diving on in here in the chat. Yeah, Jasmine pushes through 0.0235. It's gonna move, and we all go to Vegas. Man. I'd love to have the crypto community out there in Vegas one of these times, man. That'd be so fun. I love throwing some dice at the table, baby, and my lady does too. So it'd be a good time. I also wager on sports every once in a while. Whenever we go to a sports game, I usually wager enough to cover our seats, right, and all the food that we eat there. So either I get a free sports game, or I just pretend I sat in the better seats. That's how I justify it in my head. It's a super great way of gambling if you guys ever do gamble, right? I don't gamble a lot, but when we go to sports games, I usually be on there on FanDuel. I'll be like, yeah, we'll see what the lines are. But man, this market is looking so hot, everybody. I can't tell you. I want to go over real quick. Man, look at this. Even in the entire, look at this week. 21% for the top 100. I just can't get over it. And I think this is just the beginning of something greater, in my opinion. All right. Let's go on over. This is what I was talking about on Total 3. We were talking about our box of remembrance, right? This is where the Boys Crypto community was averaging into our altcoins when we were down here at about 730 billion. I remember we were making some buys on Render, on Virtuals, on Ondo. We were picking some stuff up on the cheap. We dipped a little lower and we bought a little more. So, we bought into on Sui and everything. It looked good. And a lot of the altcoins, everything in the spot bag is absolutely mooning out of this box of remembrance. Why do we call it that? Because everybody, and this for those of you who don't watch the channel regularly, but man, we're going to remember this box of remembrance We're going to remember when we're sitting up here at a 1.7. I think we could reach a potentially $3 trillion market cap. You know what's special about the altcoins? This is a total 3 chart. This represents all the altcoins outside of Ethereum, right? So Bitcoin, Ethereum excluded. This is the market cap of the rest of the cryptocurrency market, sitting at about 915 billion, XRP being the coin that most heavily influences this chart. I am a firm believer that this was the high back in 2021. We still have not cracked that $1.11 trillion level. We did get up briefly to 1.15 trillion. I think once we crack that high, we have an insane altcoin run that we've never seen before. Look here. Once we had a high, we came back up to the high here. I think a move like this is going to ensue for the altcoins. This was 2017. Come up, test the highs, get above, retest, and then boom to the upside. I think that is very, very likely. We failed here. We did fail here, but I don't see a triple top coming in for the altcoins. I do not see it, right, in any way, shape, or form. Is it a possibility? Yeah, sure, absolutely, but I'm not tracking that for the altcoins. I really think this could be one of the most special moments in our lives. Not just special moments, baby. Not just special moments, but I think that this could be one of the biggest life-changing opportunities that you have for you and your family right now. And it's going to take place over the next, likely, 3 to 4 months. It only took about 120 days for the last alt season. You know, in 3 months would put us at where? About August, right? August. And, you know, if you get up to my price targets, right, up in about 2 to 3 trillion, you're looking at about an average 2.5x of your random altcoin. And there are going to be some that do better. There are going to be some that do worse. And I'm sure there's going to be some that go down in some way, shape, or form. There's way more coins in the market this time. But I think based off of the size of Bitcoin, we topped out here. Bitcoin was trading at $60,000 here in 2021. When Bitcoin cracks the highs again, I think risk on is going to come back into the space, and it's going to come back full force, baby, especially with the trade agreement and rate cuts looming on the horizon. The recipe is there for one of the biggest altcoin runs we've ever seen in our entire lives. So I appreciate each and every single one of you guys kicking it with me, baby. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys kicking it with me. Something I want to do before we head out tonight. Look at this. This is very, very, very key. Oh, I love dominance. Just roll over, baby. Roll over. Look at that. Even since we started the stream at about 18, boom, to the downside, losing about another 1/3%. And it doesn't, it doesn't seem massive, right? But look at your altcoin, what it did this week off of this move that we called back here on the channel. Boom to the downside. Everybody is screaming in the profits right now. If you are in any kind of altcoin, and then maybe not profits, right? Maybe not profits. Maybe you got in when, we were sitting at the highs for total 3. Maybe you're underneath where you bought your altcoin. And I'm here to tell you, do not fret, do not freak out. Right? I think the season's just starting, and I think a lot of the highs on the stronger coins, at least in the top 20, in my opinion, are going to be cracked. All right, I do want to look at the SUI trade real quick with you guys. I want to look at 2 things. I want to look at the SUI trade. Unless you guys got more coins you wanted to go over, drop them on in the chat. I want to look over the economic calendar because, if the bears have any hope alive, what's going to stimulate the bears to start opening up shorts? It's this right here, the U.S. economic calendar. We have a lot coming up this week. Very, very, very important week for not only crypto, but the stock market as well. We have core CPI measuring inflation with the exception of food and energy. So that's going to be very, very important, looking at inflation from the perspective of the consumer. So that's your random TV at Walmart. That's your slippers. That's your random steering wheel. That's your tire. That's all that kind of stuff, right? The price of those average goods moving over the course of the last month. That's going to give us a little bit of a peak. And we got to remember, Jerome Powell just came out last week, right? And he had no freaking clue what every question that he was asked was like, I don't know. We're going to have to wait on more data. I have no idea. I have no clue. No idea. That was a poor performance from who is in charge of our monetary policy. Shrugging his shoulders, saying like, we don't have the data. We don't know. We have no idea. We don't know how the tariffs are impacting us right now, so we don't know about future rate cuts. That was so sad to watch. I was like, wow, look at the people managing our money in this country, just shrugging their shoulders and saying, I don't know. That's got to instill confidence in the dollar. And you know what? A lot of people were freaking out and saying, oh, I want out of the dollar. And I'm not just saying that. I got proof. Let's look at the DXY. I know I'm kind of bouncing all over. Let's look at the DXY real quick. The DXY measures the strength of the dollar, right? Measures the strength of the dollar. And we got US dollar index, DXY. So ever since we've been struggling, right? We've been struggling here for the DXY. Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Likely going to be a lower high. Where's that going to come in? Probably the 618786, which we are probably approaching as we speak. Yeah, the 786 sitting just 1% above where we sit right now. May even reject there off the 0.5 and off of this trend line that we formed here. If we could squeeze just a little further beneath over the course of the night, or over the course of this weekend, right? This is a Friday candle, only trades Monday through Friday. So there's going to be a gap, likely a gap. Was this one filled? That one was not filled. That's interesting. We may get a little bit of a gap up and then a push down on the dollar. It doesn't mean anything other than a weakening dollar, right? People are choosing to hold other currencies than dollars or invest in things that are not the dollar. Whenever you buy a stock, that's you selling the dollar, right? You bought something, but you're selling the dollar. So as the DXY falls down, that is very, very good for traditional markets. It's good for Bitcoin. It's especially good for Bitcoin. Not necessarily as good for the gold, but gold's been doing really, really well recently, and the stock market as well. So the DXY rolling over. What else do we have going on this week? Some chairman is speaking. The big days, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very important to watch. Thursday, look at this behemoth. Look at this behemoth of economic news that comes in at 8:30. What is that, 10 things? That's crazy. We have core PPI. What is core PPI? Very similar to CPI, but it measures the inflation from the cost of the seller. So we're going to figure out how much more expensive does it cost for Apple to make that phone, right? Based off the tariffs and the things that are going on right now in the country. I think a lot of this data is going to pull in the added costs, right, due to the tariffs on other countries this month. So that's going to be very, very, this past month. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I did not see this. Is this true? Sorry, guys. I did not see that. Woo! That is big. Oh, yeah. Let's see if this man... When does he speak next? Oh, he does. 8:40 a.m. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell speaks, baby. I missed that earlier. I was reading with my man eyes, if you guys know what I'm talking about. I missed it. You know when you try to find the ketchup in the fridge, and then you're like, man, I can't find it. I have no idea. And I'm like, and you're like, baby, we're out of ketchup. I don't know where it's at. And she opens up the fridge and finds the ketchup on the first thing. I know what that's like, guys. I know. It's called the man eyes, right? The man eyes. I love you, man. I love you guys, but it happens. All right, here we go. So that is going to be big. Not only do we have core PPI, and Fed Chairman Jerome Powell comes out 10 minutes after that. We have core PPI. PPI year over year. Retail sales, that jobless claim. We have everything. We have all the big ticket items on Thursday. I would not be surprised to see a little bit less of volume in the beginning of the week leading up to May 15th. Man, that could be huge. And Fed Chairman Jerome Powell comes out. He's likely to get grilled. I would grill him. You should want to grill him too. The guy who manages your money and how much it gets inflated, shrugging his shoulders on live TV in front of everyone as the reporters ask him really relevant, basic questions. Can we expect more rate cuts? What is your plans to do with the tariff and the tariff war? And just shoulder shrug. That was one of the most poor performances by him, in my opinion. Gave no confidence to the market, in my opinion. But with that being said, you can't, I think this rate hike is likely to come in later on in the year, and he has said that in prior Fed meetings, so that's going to be very interesting. Friday, absolutely nothing burgers, some building permits and things like that. Consumer sentiment. Tuesday and Thursday are the hot days next week, everybody. Tuesday and Thursday, the hot days next week. DXY, I think the DXY is likely rolling over, right? And do we have this on futures? No, you don't. Do not have DXY on futures. So, yeah, we'll have to wait to see how Sunday night, 8 o'clock, that's going to open up. That's going to open up for us. So that's going to be very, very interesting to look at, that rollover, baby. And we were like, hey, this bull flag breaks to the upside. That would be horrible for risk on assets. And we got the reversal, right? Just a couple weeks ago. Super awesome for BTC. It made its monumental run from about 74,000 up to where it is right now at about 103.7. Do not be surprised, everybody. You have to keep it on your radar. Do not be surprised to wake up to an all-time high. Once we crack $106,000 again, the odds of shorts opening up there to me are very, very low. I mean, people could try to short the highs, but I don't see us touching that, and I don't see us breaking through this range and not going on a blue skies breakout. After a dip like that, the bears had all the chance in the world to dump us down into the bear market, and now the bulls have full control above the high volume. If you're opening up a short, where do you take profit? At the high volume node right here where you're likely to get a massive bounce? Sure, but the risk of a blue skies breakout would liquidate you and could potentially, even if you have a stop loss in its market, that could liquidate you. To me, as a trader and a trader looking at this, I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't long it either after this massive move to the upside. You take your longs once you get above the point of control. So we're a little extended from there. So very, very interesting for BTC. Do not be surprised to see that. We have low liquidity on the weekend, which in the past has absolutely screwed us. And here we are, and the bears may get a little taste of their own medicine with those short squeezes to the upside. All right, here we go, baby. Here we go. Diving on into the chat. Thank you guys for hopping on in. Nasty Kid Andrew and Raurd wants to go over some stuff. Arc Block Protocol, Cardano, and GOAT. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Let's hit with Cardano. We'll go in order here. Keeps it in check for me. Keeps it in check. All right, Cardano. Woo! Let me get a little water, man. Got that dry uvula going. Just want to take a quick peek at that. All right, Cardano here on the perpetuals here on Bybit. All right, so Cardano. We had it in this flag here on the daily, getting above the daily 200 SMA. This will be one of the best closes that I've seen for Cardano in a very, very long time. And people were asking what's going on with Cardano. And, seems to be taking a little bit of a bite back, shoulder head. This is a little sloppy. Let me get rid of this. Little bit of a bite back. We have this shoulder, head, inverted shoulder, head, right shoulders rearing across the altcoin market. Do you guys see? This is the same pattern for almost everything, is it not? Is it not? Look at this from the wick, right? This technical target takes you all the way up to about 95 cents. I think Cardano has the potential to squeeze. Why do I think Cardano has the potential to squeeze? Look at this strategic reserve announcement. You had almost a, look at this pump once you got above the daily 200 SMA. Boom, 72% to the upside. The last time you had a monumental move, this red line is no joke, especially with a reversal pattern, shoulder, head, right shoulder. You're above the point of control right here, gapping up to where you're likely to get a little bit of resistance here at about 97. That is in confluence with the prior high right here. Your measured move target out of the inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, and the high volume node that is sitting there at about 99 cents. That's an area where I would think that there would be a little bit of a reaction. Currently testing that support resistance flip right here. Support, fell under resistance. You get back above that, man, and you could gap up very, very quickly. Look at this gap in the high volume node. You're currently about to get to the lowest volume area sitting up here at about 84 cents. You can get that squeeze. I like Cardano right now. I think this thing is going on an absolute moon mission. One of the coins that is speculated to be in the U.S. strategic reserve. This thing could do some massive damage. I hear people calling for the highs on Cardano. Are we going to get there? We definitely could. I do have a little bit of a Cardano on a ledger, but not something that is one of my more major positions. But I think this project can do massively, massively well. I think this project can do massively, massively well over the course of the bull run. A top 10 coin, nothing to be reckoned with. This thing has a colossal market cap of about $30 billion. $30 billion, that is no joke. That is absolutely no joke. All right. Cardano, looks good, man. Looks good to me. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Just, same chart, different asset, is it not? Shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom to the upside above the daily 200 SMA. You get this daily candle close, and you didn't yesterday. You fell beneath, right? But this would show massive strength for Cardano, especially out of that candle that looks a little bearish, engulfing the entire thing. Cardano not carrying today, going on a moonshot just in today, up about, is that not 10%, right? 10% move on Cardano for the day. About 9% move for Cardano out of that inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder. The daily looks good, ready to go. The 4-hour stochastics curving. Look at that, brother, at the 50 line saying that, hey, Cardano looks like it may not be done. I think a squeeze is very, very likely for Cardano as we go throughout the night and the Asian session starts waking up, or not the Asian session, it's the weekend. But the Asian countries start waking up and we can get that squeeze to the upside. We got to keep in mind that countries are sleeping, right? During that pump that we had today, during this entire juicy thing. Look at this on the day. The last hour, we got a massive move to the upside, right? Look at this. A lot of these coins, Ondo pumping $1.10, Sui at $4.10, baby. At $4.10, Arbitrum squeezing to the upside. I'll just give you guys a little trade update here. This thing is absolutely going to the moon, baby. This thing's absolutely going to the moon. on futures over here. We got in about 325, about 82% on this trade. Look at Bitcoin going for the rocket shot, $400,500. Look at that. It could happen here on the low liquidity. Look at the 1 minute time frame here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the last 6 minutes. Bitcoin took a $1,000 pump, up 80% on this SUI trade. Looking to hold that for the majority of the bull market. You gotta like trading that higher margin, lower leverage. Look at that fee, $29 for this thing. Good night. This is a market that can get absolutely frothy, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely frothy. Let me get out of there. So yeah, we got to look at Bitcoin really quick. I promise you guys, I'm going to get into your altcoins. Thank you for sticking with me. Man, this is like a little microphone. Thank you for sticking with me. I just want to look at Bitcoin on the 1 minute, and then we're going to go into ARC block and GOAT. GOAT was cool. What's GOAT? GOAT? Hold on. Let me think. Was GOAT, and respond in the chat if you guys know, was GOAT the first coin created by an AI? I'm pretty sure it was. Look at that. Out of the flag. Look at this. And, you know, we could have gone longer. We could have gone longer. If we close this 2-hour candle too early. And this 1 hour candle, too early, everybody. Look at this. We still have 42 minutes till this candle body closes. Do not be surprised. Look at that. We were talking about 106. 106 is the highest daily candle close ever. We could see that. And I'm not saying we see it. I'm not going to take that off the table. We could see the highest daily candle close tonight. We can. In the next 42 minutes, $1,000 pump just happened for Bitcoin in the last 10 minutes. You get another 1,000. That could be the all-time high daily candle close for BTC on a Saturday night, catching everybody with their pants down. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance real quick before we dive on into these altcoins. Guys, I'm just getting so excited because we caught it, baby. We caught it. Dominance dropping to the downside. A little bit of a pump a lump, baby. A little bit of a pump a lump, but I think it's going to be lackluster in comparison to what the altcoins are about to do, baby. Let's get this fib pulled here. Fib pull. You can pull it from here. I like it right there. Looking to reject out of the golden pocket. Look at that to the downside on the 1 minute time frame. Looks very, very likely here for Bitcoin dominance. This is where the altcoins will likely start to take off. Look at that rejection right there on the 1 minute candle. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's pull on over in the ARC block protocol. I'm going to dive back into Bitcoin once we go over these next two coins. ARC block protocol. ARC block protocol, a promising project. I've heard about it. And look at all the altcoins. Look at this on the 1 minute. Look at this pump a lump, baby. 15 minutes, boom, to the upside for a lot of the hottest coins in the game, baby. Look at all these altcoins massively ripping to the upside. And don't be concerned if you're in Story or ENA and it's not pumping as hard, right? Just little pullbacks. Everything isn't going to go hand in hand. But man, these altcoins look prime, baby. Shout out to you guys that are here. There's a lot of people out in the club hitting the whip nay-nay with all their friends tonight, and they may miss the all-time high candle body close for BTC. And, you know, that doesn't matter to 99% of the population, but it matters to us. We're in this space so early in an asset that I think is right now valued at 1% of where I think it's going to go in the future. I see a 100x coming for Bitcoin over the next 20 years, and I think it's going to be the best performing asset. I think the world will revolve around it. And, you know, everybody who's embraced it, MicroStrategy, El Salvador, you know, everybody who's been diving on in, Nvidia, the biggest company that we have here in the United States, wants to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet, and they're just the beginning. There's millions of companies across the world that I believe will hold this asset. I just can't speak more positively about it, man. Shout out to you guys for being here. All right, let's look at ARC block protocol. Look at the minute chart, boom to the upside. That's crazy, a 4%. Look at this. This is how crazy altcoins could get. 3%, 3.5% in 9 minutes. Oh yeah, that's volatility, baby. That's volatility. That's what we love here in this market. Look at the daily. Yeah, you can't get any crystal cleaner than that, can you not? Look at that beautiful shoulder head. Right shoulder. Looks very good for a reversal to the upside. This is a big one, baby. This is a big measured move. Do we have to get to the measured move? The answer is no. The answer is no. However, it does show a potential reversal here in the charts. And, you know, ARCBot's been beaten down. Look at this thing. You know, on the charts anyway, from the beginning of January, I think it is definitely older than that for sure. But you got that shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking to pop to the upside. You have this, look at the gap in the VRVP, I'll bet. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Let's see the gap in the VRVP. The most arc block protocol traded hands down here at about 5 cents. You're trading at 9 cents, and the next high volume node that I'm tracking is up here at 22. That's a 2.5x, about a 2.5x from where you currently stand. And to test the previous support resistance, you have nothing stopping you from coming up here and testing this range. You're playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside right now. You don't even have a daily 200 moving average on this chart due to the chart being that new. But man, you're looking to gap up very, very quickly on arc block protocol. I think it's very, very likely. Same chart, different asset, right? But boom, a stochastic RSI pointing violently in the upward direction. The weekly, baby. Let's see the weekly updates here. Yeah, I don't have the weekly chart yet. Let's look at the 3-day. Let's look at the 3-day. Coming up out of oversold territory, getting pinned in the overbought area in the stochastic RSI. Looks very, very good here for arc block protocol for a continued squeeze to the upside. Let's look at the minute chart. Man, a lot of these altcoins are going to get real frothy if we start doing flag and drags on the 1 minute. I'm telling you guys, and this is going to get volatile and violent for price action. Volatile and violent for price action. Looks very, very good for arc block protocol right there. Thank you for keeping that on our radar, Andrew Greason. Andrew Greason, man, I appreciate you. You're an absolute legend for jumping on in the chat, and I appreciate your support, brother. I appreciate your support and you being here. What's going on, baby? Welcome home. All right, let's go on into GOAT. The first coin that was made by an AI. Let's see, Godius Maximus. Let's do it. Dive it on over into Binance. This thing was listed on futures not too long ago, I believe, right? It's actually been a minute, but looking on the day, not too long ago, back there in October. Godius Maximus. This thing, I'm kind of on the edge of it, right? And here's why. I'm on the edge for Godius Maximus because on one side, I don't want to be, what do you call it, a hypocrite or something? Like where you say one thing and the other thing. I am a big fan of AI, right? And although I'm a big fan of AI and I think AI is going to massively outperform, I acknowledge the risk that is there. So when I say I think AI is going to outperform, am I talking about the first coin that was made by AI? Is that narrative going to come back to Godius Maximus? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, if it is, and you get in on this price range as something that traded at $1.37, you're looking at a 10x just to get back from the highs. Not something I currently own, not something that I'm looking to own, but it's something that I think could do some massive damage, especially if the AI narrative continues to dominate. Looks very, very good for Godius Maximus. I would look here for a bigger flag to form out on the 1 hour time frame. Starting to look a little, I would look for a flag to start forming out here on the 1 hour time frame. I think that would look very, very nice if you did form out that triangle there and get a little bit of consolidation after you've been overbought and that bearish divergence did kick in to the downside. You do have a little bit of a higher low right there, hidden bullish divergence. You have a swing up in price action right here. You have a swing up in price action while you have a swing down on the RSI indicator, indicating that you're likely to crack this high before you crack this low. Does that mean that we have to continue up from where we are? No. We could get a little bit of further consolidation to the downside, and, that would be okay. That would be okay. That would also coincide with the 618786 fib that pulls from this range right here. Oh, you did get that bounce. Look at that beautiful bounce off of the 618 right there. Just got front ran just a little bit at just above 13.5 cents. It looks good to me. I think it could continue to the upside. I'll be honest. I'm going to lay this out flat for you guys. If Bitcoin does this move over the course of the weekend, if Bitcoin does this move over the course of the weekend, there's no telling where alts can go. There's a lot of them are sitting at their all-time low. Godius Maximus is sitting at its lows. It's all-time lows, right? Essentially, I mean, not down here anymore. Down here at about 5 cents. You're up 3x from the lows. Isn't that crazy? Just in 3 days, look at this move on 3 days. 3 days, and you're up 127%. If you got in from the lows, you're up way more than that. If we go up to the wick for Godius Maximus, and I'm telling you guys, some of these smaller cap coins, 407%. Some of these smaller cap coins can do some massive damage to the upside. These may be some of the best prices on these assets. And, what's the market cap of GOAT? It's going to speak to the risk. Godius Maximus at 282. It's outside the top 100, 200, sitting at about $152 million market cap. Not the highest risk coin in the game, but also not the lowest either. So something you want to do your research on, and you're betting on the narrative of not only AI coming back, but the coins that get created on AI, are those going to start taking off? I think it's a sentiment shift. I think it's something that if you believe in it, these are likely some of the best prices that you're going to get in the game, in my opinion. May look for a little bit of a pullback, higher high, higher low, higher high, or higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Where's your next higher low likely to come in? I know people don't want to hear this. I own a Godius, but you gotta say from a leverage perspective, down here at about 11 cents, right? Down here at about 11 cents, and then you get that bigger move to the upside.
With that being said, there's nothing to stop you from continually ripping up to this area that was previous support versus resistance. So that's why I'd rather be positioned. That's why, MH, you're right, man. If you're not positioned right now, you're caught in between a rock and a hard place. And this is why we were averaging in, and it's very, very hard to catch the exact bottom. Very few people are going to catch the exact bottom. We didn't catch the exact bottom. We didn't, but we got in at amazing prices that look like, wow, we're glad we got in when we did, are we not? So the downside risk to Godius Maximus is, this is a failed rally, and you go to the lows, and then you're looking at, you come back to the lows, that's a 78% loss on your money. Not a position you want to be in, especially because the last 48 hours is all that dictated a 50% move to the upside. Even if you retrace the past 2 days, 48 hours of price action, that you lose half your money and go to these. Just not a position that I want to be in. With that being said, I think a squeeze to the upside is very, very likely. Look at these big, painful red candles to the downside. I promise you, they can happen to the upside. They can happen in the memes and the low-cap coins more so than any of the other coins in the game. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you dropping GOAT. Roward, GOAT on our radar. Looks to move to the upside, brother. I would not advise, and I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice. For entertainment purposes only, got to say that. I couldn't advise betting the farm on it. But if you believe in this narrative and you think it's going to pump out of that flag, right, on the 1 hour, 2 hour time frame, that speculative flag, off of that hidden bullish divergence, you may not see below 11 cents again. So you may want to try to me, if I were trying to get in, I'd try to get in at as close to that level as possible. Maybe buy a little now and layer some limit orders in here throughout the night if you get it. But that'd be me trying to be cheap and get the best bang for my buck. You know what I mean? So that's interesting here for on an asset that's definitely going to be volatile, man. After a move like that on the daily, you're going to see some whipsaw price action. So I would recommend staying away from leverage. However, on the smaller time frames, if they serve you well, like this is the 200 MA, right? We like to play 200 MA dominoes on this channel. We broke below the 200 MA, we struggled. We're looking to come up and press on the 5-minute 200 SMA. You got above the 1 and rocket to the upside. You get above the 3, you're going to test the 5. You get above the 5, you're going to test the 7, which is up here. You get above the 7, you're going to test the 15. 15's beneath you. We break above the 7-minute 200 SMA. I think rocket shot for GOAT. I think so. And look at this. This is a 7-minute chart. You break above the prior high. Look at this. You're coming up at a 20-cent range. That's another 25% pump for this, and it's nothing for an asset that is just over a $100 million valuation. GOAT looks very, very good. Thank you for keeping it on our radar, brother. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your support, and I enjoy seeing you in the chat. Thank you for your coin suggestion. You're an absolute legend. All right, diving on in. Yeah, Andrew, I got you, brother. I got you. I appreciate you being here. MH, if Bitcoin makes all-time highs and that DOM drops, alts will go crazy. Couldn't agree with you more, man. Couldn't agree with you more. And you know what's crazy? It's a weekend. The institutions cannot get in right now. They're probably crapping themselves. They're like, crap! Like, they're crapping themselves. They're like, wow, I wish we got in on those coins, right? When we were talking about, and, you know, Bitcoin dominance, it just continues to roll over. Lackluster pumps, deeper dumps. And I think that was the high. I'll call it out there on the channel. Losing the 200 MA. Where are we coming down to? Likely the 6 hour and the 8 hour. Where are we sitting at? We're playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside, breaking the 8 hour 200 SMA. We have not been below that level since January of 2025. 3 months ago, we have not closed below the daily, the 8 hour 200 SMA. Stokes pinned in the negative 0 right at the bottom. 0, baby, 0. That's as if Stokes were pinned at the top at 100. Looks very, very good for continuation to the downside for Bitcoin dominance. It's cooked, people. It's cooked, everybody. And we called it here on the chat. I'll shout out to you guys. And shout out to everybody who stuck with their altcoins. We've been calling it, baby. We've been calling it. We finally got that big move on the daily. The biggest, in my opinion, look at these candles. This is 3 black crows right here. If you flip this chart around, flip the chart around. Would you not look like this was a massive opportunity? 3 white soldiers to the upside. It just looks so beautiful. And you come up here and test, and you can get that moonshot, maybe a little bit of flag underneath and push above the point of control. That's the inverted chart. So I'm seeing further dumpage for Bitcoin dominance and for the altcoins to really bring in a lot of money for this community. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'm going to see you guys here every stream, man. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to look back at that box of remembrance. Dominance is going to drop, and we're going to be looking here, and I can't wait to see it in the chat, what you guys bought with the money that you earned from alt season. season. I'm super excited. And I'm not saying I led you guys led yourselves here. You guys were the ones who hit the buy button. You guys were the ones who made your investing decisions. I'm just here, being, I'm the head of the community that just kind of facilitates this all together and give you guys my ideas on the chart. I'm just excited to see where this takes us, everybody. I'm excited to see where it takes us, and I'm pretty confident we caught the top out of that divergence. Looks very, very good for a rollover for BTC dominance. And, does that have to be the top? No. But this move to the downside, 3 black crows, that's not a pattern that I'm going to... if I was looking to long this, and I saw that, under no situation would I ever long 3 black crows. Just like under no situation would I ever short 3 white soldiers. So that looks really awesome. Hey, I appreciate you, Zinazgid. You're an absolute legend, man. Best TA on YouTube. I appreciate you, man. I try to do it in a way that's, I try to do it in a way that everybody understands, right? I have a really simple trading technique that works and is able to, milk money out of the market. And I'm just excited to share that with you guys. I appreciate you guys. All right. That hits all the coins on our radar. I've already, I cooked a nice casserole for my lady, and she just got home, hopped in the bath. I'm going to go and finish that up for her. Enjoy your Saturday night, everybody. Bask in the glory that is your altcoins. Looking for continuation to the upside as we go throughout the night. Do not be surprised to wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin is sitting near, if at near, $106,000, $107,000. It can happen through the night. It can happen very, very quickly. Imagine if you were in the Asians positions and you woke up and you saw Bitcoin pushing on the highs. You're going to get to that FOMO zone. We're getting into that FOMO zone. We are above an area right now on the Bitcoin chart that we have not seen for more than about a week of time. That's it. 104.4. Look at these candles. We don't have many. Put a line right here on the chart, right? How many days have we traded over this line? Very few. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not including the wicks. 4 days. This will be the 5th day above this as far as daily candle quality closures. Very, very interesting, right? 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in there. My point is less than 14, including the wicks. Less than 2 weeks of price action up in this zone. So price action could get very, very volatile very, very fast. Shout out to you guys kicking it with me tonight. Much love to everybody. I will see you guys here tomorrow on the live. I appreciate you guys kicking it with me. Watch Bitcoin throughout the night, everybody. This is a time that it can catch everybody with your pants down. You shut your eyes for 15 minutes, and you can wake up to trading view alarms in the middle of the night while your lady's sleeping, and you're like, and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh my gosh, my magic internet money is pumping, baby. I got to get to the computer, and I'm going to flip on the light and everything, and she's going to put her head underneath the pillow. She's going to be really mad at me. But no, it looks like I'm kidding. That never happens. Absolutely never. But I do talk to her about crypto a lot. It's absolutely wild. And she watches the stream, so it means the world to my heart. All right, so thank you, everybody, for diving on in with me today. I will see you guys tomorrow. On the live. Until then, much love. Until then, I'll keep you updated on my Twitter at BoysCrypto102 in the event I see anything real juicy in the charts. But I combed over everything I wanted to on the live stream and all the coins that we dropped in the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Much love, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday night.